Well, welcome to Wise Lives, the podcast, the show. We're going to have a special bonus episode today with our friend Chris Whitehead. And I wanted to talk about life around the table. So Chris is a friend of ours, you're from Sheffield, from our church in Sheffield. I just want to have a quick conversation about how do we get the rhythms, how do we share ourselves and maybe our houses with other people. Why would you want to do that? And what kind of outcomes have we seen over the years from just being willing to open up and to walk together, to journey together in community? Now, hello, Chris. Hello again.
Hi, Nick.
Welcome to the bonus episode of Wise Lives. You guys have you don't live in a palace or anything. You live in a normal house in Sheffield, a normal city in the north of England. But I know that over the years you have had loads and loads of people who've actually lived with you for short or medium amounts of times in your spare rooms. You're part of a community, a Christian within the church. You're part of a whatever we might call them, a small group, a home group, community group, missional community, whatever the different phrases are. And you have people in and out of your home all the time. And why? Because although you think that's normal, it isn't necessarily in many people's lives. So what's the philosophy behind that?
Yeah, it has always seemed perfectly natural, and it all started 30 years ago when Judy said to me, a couple of West Indian girls have been evicted from their flat and they'd just like to come and live with us for a fortnight. So anyway, they arrived with a furniture van. Wow. And carried all this furniture upstairs, and I said to my wife, I don't think they've come for a fortnight, and a year and a half later they left. And then the girls, we had Rachel and Harriet, our first two daughters at that stage, said, when are we going to have some more lodgers, Mum and Dad? And that was the start of a whole series of lodgers. I mean, I reckon we've had over 30 lodgers over the years.
Over 30 years or so.
And
wow.
It's enriched our lives, and it seems so natural. I do smile when people go, oh, that's a weird thing to do.
And it's not for the money, is it? I mean, obviously sometimes that will help.
Yeah, it started off as a way of paying the mortgage, but sometimes we've had lodgers for free. We had a lady who was starting a charity in Sheffield, and she got no income for about 6 months until the charity started working. And she stayed with us for free, and we've had one or two others on a pro bono basis. I mean, I suppose the way in which they become integrated with our lives is best illustrated by when Judy had our third daughter, Ruth. So she had two of our daughters at home, and so there was a couple of midwives in the bedroom. She just had Ruth, and Harriet and Rachel, our other two, stuck their head around the door and asked to come in and see the new baby. And so, and then after a short while, there was another knock on the door, and the midwives were obviously, what's going on? And Ruth, who was our lodger at the time, said, shall I make you a cup of tea? And then there was another more tentative knock, and we actually had two lodgers at that point in time. Another lodger, Dave, he also stuck his head round the door, and I think at that point the kind of midwives were thinking, where are these people coming from? How many more people are living in this house? Yeah, so we actually had two lodgers when Judy had our first child.
You are literally sharing life.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah,
in that way.
Yeah, there's no area of the house that's kind of off limits to the lodgers. And I mean, one of our lodgers took the girls on holiday camping. Ruth took the girls to Tenby, I think it was.
So people become integrated into the life of your...
Yeah, they do.
Do you, and is that a conscious decision? Have you said, you know what, we do have a nuclear family, but that's not how we're going to just see it. We're going to see it as an extended family.
Yeah, completely. And you know, it's widened our horizons and the girls' horizon. You know, this isn't a kind of us being benevolent in some way. You know, it's just a way of enriching everyone's lives. You know, and if we're giving anything, you know, Jesus said it's in giving we receive.
Right.
It completely is. You know, we've just found that to be fact.
Yeah. And there's the New Testament example in the book of Acts where you see communities, okay, it's a different context 2,000 years ago, but they're doing a similar thing. They're living not just in nuclear households, but in extended households. So the head of the household might have had an occupation or something like that, but they would have been the slaves, and there were the wife and the children, and then there were the servants making things happen, and so on and so forth. And it was actually almost an economic unit. The household had maybe 20, 30, 40 people in it, producing something together, going on a journey together. And I love that kind of picture. Acts 2:42 to 47 says, you know, the believers had everything in common. They sold their possessions. They worshipped together. They ate together. You know, they shared communion together. They just did life together. And it's that kind of picture.
Yeah, the model's not new at all. And in fact, there used to be a house in Crooks that was associated with St Thomas, and I think it was called a commune. Yeah, there was a good 20 people
living
together in, I think, a couple of houses that were knocked together,
So tell us a bit about kind of life around the table. You must have had a few interesting people around your table over the years, but you and your wife, Judy, it's that kind of idea of discipleship on the go. It's kind of like, well, I don't have time to stop and just sit you down. I'm going to do the washing up now. Let's talk about life as we go along.
Yeah, well, the first thing I'd say is that often it's not a matter of me discipling people. I'm being discipled by the people that we've had as lodgers. Yeah. And also, you know, we have a wider community that we have on Wednesday nights. So we have. For a long while now, well over 10 years, we've had a house group, and we have a meal, and then we get together to talk about our faith, actually. And I think that's I think it's an important complement to the kind of Sunday life of the church, because, you know, people can reflect on their faith, what they're learning, put forward some, you know, different ideas about what the whole thing means to them personally, and you know, we can share.
Yeah, and you go on a journey together.
Yeah, completely. I mean, there's kind of been a core to that house group of maybe half a dozen people that have come along on that journey for some time now. Yeah.
And I've noticed, I know you guys a little bit, you'll also extend it into leisure, so you guys will go mountain biking together, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, there is a mountain biking group. Yeah.
And that's because you're friends. It's not a task coming together. I mean, it can feel a little bit like on a Wednesday, or it's Wednesday, I must go to small group or group, but actually it's that sense of friendship and going on a shared journey together, and having each other's backs, and knowing and being known.
Yeah, and it's, you know, over time it helps your personal growth, because people, once they know you and trust you, they feel they can give you some honest feedback and challenge at times, you know, and that. And none of us are going to actually grow without that.
Right. So it's about being authentic enough to be who you are, really. Share a little bit about what you really think, or what your faith's really, where it's up to, or what it's in, and so on. And allow each other to sharpen it or amend it a little bit as you go along.
Yeah, and it's a forum in which we can, you know, probably the greatest thing I think that we can do for one another is just listen to each other, and that's it's a great way of appreciating people and learning.
Yeah, that's lovely. I love it. It's the open-minded, open house kind of approach, and as I say, it feels natural, but actually it's something that we have to learn how to do, or choose how to do.
Yeah,
and it's become a way of life for you, and I'd encourage all of us to think about how do I find ways to share what I have, share hospitality with one another, as the Bible calls us to, and actually ultimately share myself, because as you say, it's through interacting with others that one grows and God can speak to us.
And one of the really nice things about it is seeing people's onward journey from the time that they've lived with us, or the time they've been in community with us. And so, for example, we keep in touch with a woman now who's a consultant down in Bristol, and the other day a girl who went off to be a scriptwriter for Tim Robbins actually came back. She came back to see a friend in Scotland, and then she was going down to London to see some friends, but she deliberately broke her journey in Sheffield so that she could pop in just for a couple of hours and
come on, have another cup of tea.
Say hi and have another cup of tea. Yeah.
So life around the table begins at home, but actually turns out to extend all around the world in those ways.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Thank you, Chris. Thanks for sharing that stuff and just being real about that. And let's work out how we can do that in our own lives. We may not have our own kitchen table, but you can interact with other people's families and just look at ways of sharing and loving each other. Very good. Great. Thanks.